All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. Tonight, we're talking about the Chicago Bears. Their preseason is officially over, and we are getting closer and closer to their season opener against the Green Bay Packers at home. That's going to be a great game. But I saw more than what I needed to see this past preseason, specifically with Justin Fields and so many of these rookie players. I'm looking at Tyreek Stevenson the other day against the Buffalo Bills, finally getting that first interception. I'm loving what I'm seeing from the two defensive tackles, Gervon Dexter and Zach Pickens out of Florida and South Carolina. I don't think the Bears even need to be interested in a guy like Chris Jones, because I'll promise you, these guys are up next. They have so many players on this defense and on this offense that are going to make the Chicago Bears a good football team, or at least a so much better football team than they were last year. It's going to equate to a lot more wins. We're going to see at least 6 Chicago Bears wins this upcoming season. And Justin Fields is a large and one of the main reasons for that happening. We take a look at the new receiving game. You have DJ Moore coming on over, who had a good rookie season, follows it up with 3 straight 1,100-yard receiving years, and then a down year last year with Carolina, where he still caught almost 900 receiving yards and a career-high 7 touchdowns. He joins Darnell Mooney, who is a breakout candidate. He's a star breakout candidate for this upcoming season. He essentially missed the final 6 games for the Chicago Bears this past year. He was having a solid season, but the year before that, we saw 81 catches, over 1,000 yards, and 4 touchdowns from Darnell Mooney. And joining him is going to be a hopefully healthy, and apparently it's optimistic that he will be healthy for week 1, in Chase Claypool. Keep in mind, Chase Claypool is still a very young wide receiver who dealt with injuries and going on over to a new football team this past season. Drafted in the 2nd round in 2020, in his first 2 years with the Pittsburgh Steelers, he had over 1,600 total receiving yards and 11 touchdowns. There is certainly something there with Chase Claypool, and he's just wide receiver 3. So this is what we're going to talk about in tonight's video, all of this talent on the Chicago Bears for this upcoming season. But before we do, if you guys enjoy it, be sure to hit that like button, hit that sub button for daily NFL content. If you guys want more Bears videos, let me know down below. But Bears fans, if we could try and get this video to 500 likes, that would mean the absolute world to me. So those are just the top 3 wide receivers on the Chicago Bears. That right there, paired up with Justin Fields, who we saw Justin Fields in the final 10 or so games of this past year. He was a lot better when it came down to execution. We saw less mistakes. We saw a greater arm talent. We know Justin Fields can throw it. If you hear somebody say Justin Fields cannot throw it, he clearly isn't watching Chicago Bears games. He clearly hasn't seen Justin Fields play at Ohio State. The dude's got a cannon, and you're going to see it a lot more this season, but you're also going to see a lot more of the simple stuff. And that's really one of the pinpoints that we looked at. That was one of the big takeaways from the Bears preseason, specifically their first game against the Tennessee Titans, where Justin Fields threw the ball 3 times. He threw for over 150 yards and 2 touchdowns, just kind of dropping it off to DJ Moore, dropping it off to Khalil Herbert, and just let your playmakers, let your stars, let your studs do the work, right? Justin Fields is going to have a lot easier time this upcoming season. I do get some of the concerns offensive line-wise. On paper and with the eye test, the Chicago Bears, their starting 5 is good. They have a decent starting lineup, as young as some of these guys are, like rookie Darnell Wright at right tackle, coming over, 1st-round pick from Tennessee. Last year's late draft pick from Southern Utah, Braxton Jones at left tackle. Obviously, the Tevin Jenkins injury really sucks, but new addition Nate Davis. You've still got Cody Whitehair, the veteran, at center. If they're healthy, the Bears are going to be able to give Justin Fields enough time. Now, they're banged up right now. That's the big question mark, that both sides of the trenches, offensive and defense, those are the things to watch for the Chicago Bears this upcoming season. We'll talk about the defensive trenches in just a second here, but if that offensive line can just stay healthy, they'll be a good unit. They're a young, rising offensive line unit, but I greatly worry with their depth, which is why it's important that the Chicago Bears are number 1 in the waiver wire right now. With all of these roster cuts that you're about to see in the next couple of days that's already began, expect the Chicago Bears to pick up some quality offensive line depth immediately. So if that offensive line can hold up, you have Justin Fields, you have DJ Moore, Darnell Mooney, Chase Claypool, and it gets a little bit deeper with Equanimeous St. Brown, first round draft pick, first year rookie Tyler Scott, the speedster. We saw a little bit of him in preseason. So Justin Fields has so many more weapons than he did last season, not only with new additions like DJ Moore, but also health. We take a look at the tight end room, new additions, Robert Tonyan and Mercedes Lewis, a couple of red zone threats, some good blocking tight ends right there to pair up with rising tight end Cole Kmet. New running back room, Khalil Herbert, Dante Foreman, new addition from Carolina, and Rashawn Johnson, along with Travis Homer. There's a ton of depth at the running back unit. I'm curious what that final roster is going to look like, because they're going to have some difficult decisions, and I hope it doesn't end up with a running back getting cut, but they have so much depth at running back. You see the trend here. The Bears had talent. They've only increased their talent offensively with more power to make Justin Fields' job a lot easier, less scrambling. Just, we've seen drop-offs to DJ Moore already a couple of times in preseason. You're going to see a ton of that in the regular season. So defensively, it's just a young squad. They have some new additions coming on over, specifically at the linebacker unit, like TJ Edwards and Tremaine Edmonds. New defensive line, or a lot of new faces on the defensive line, in DeMarcus Walker and Ngakoue coming on over in free agency relatively recently. They have a really young secondary, Jalen Johnson, Jaquan Brisker, Eddie Jackson, Kyler Gordon, rookie Tyrique Stevenson. Take note of that secondary, because by the end of the regular season, that's going to be one of the most intriguing, young, rising secondaries in the entire National Football League. They have some stars there, I think, particularly in Jaquan Brisker. I think he establishes himself as a star-esque player this season. And then booming players like Tyrique Stevenson, who we saw in preseason, make some plays where it's like, oh, wow. But then we also had some hiccups. There was a pass interference. What was it? Holding the other day in that final preseason game. There have been a couple of hiccups, but for the most part, it looks like they have something. There's certainly something there with Tyrique Stevenson. It doesn't end just there as far as young rookie depth. Zach Pickens, Gervon Dexter, these are the two guys we talked about at the beginning of this video. These are two players that the Chicago Bears, these are bench players, but they're going to have roles. They're quality depth pieces, and they're rookies. They're going to see playing time. But I'm expecting at least one of Gervon Dexter or Zach Pickens, the two SEC defensive tackles, I'm expecting one of them to establish himself not as a star by the end of his rookie season, but as that dude. I think it's going to be, honestly, it could be either one of them. It could be both of them. But that's why I urge the Chicago Bears not to make a trade for Chris Jones, because I don't think, if this was 2024, I would say go for it, but I want to see what Zach Pickens and Gervon Dexter are, because I think they could have a lot more of a cheaper option in at least one of those two cats. So something to keep an eye on of these Chicago Bears young cats on this upcoming season. So that's it for tonight, man. If you enjoyed it, be sure to hit that like button, hit that sub button for daily NFL content. I do post a ton of Bears videos, so if you want more, let me know down below. But guys, go ahead and let me know, how are you feeling about the Chicago Bears? It was just preseason, so we're taking it all with grains of salt, but nonetheless, I think we saw a lot of positive things to gain that momentum heading into the regular season. Week 1 against the Green Bay Packers, I will be there, and I can't wait. So hit that like button, hit that sub button, but let me know what you're thinking about the Chicago Bears.